Jeffrey Bassa is making some noise at Chiefs OTAs. Let's talk about that.
You're listening to All Chiefed Up.
Good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, night. It was almost night. We got a little late start. Appreciate you guys rolling in here. Let's have a good night talking about some Chiefs football. Mike, we had some updates from OTAs today. They're a little exciting. We'll go through each one of those and talk a little bit. Do us a favor, hit that like button for us real quick if you haven't already. It just takes a second and it'll help your boys out tremendously. Mike, what do you have going on?
Not a lot. Not a lot. Busy day so far. I'm ready to talk about the Chiefs. This is the last practice, man, and then they're done today, right? They're not going to be back till I think 21st of July will be the first practice in camp. So, looking forward to that.
That's nice. Get camp rolling. Before you know it, the season will be starting. Usually when camp starts, it don't seem like it's too long, and all of a sudden preseason's there. So
right.
We're getting there, guys. We're making it through this dreadful off season. So let's talk about OTAs a little bit, Mike. The thing that everyone was talking about today was Jeffrey Bassa. A lot of people think that he might be the most underrated player that the Chiefs drafted because he tends to be the one that you forget. You start talking about all the guys the Chiefs drafted. You got Ashton Gelati, Omar Norman-Lott, Jalen Royals. Those are the guys that come up early and often. And, of course, Joshua Simmons. But it seems like people go straight to Brashard Smith and just kind of overlook Jeffrey Bassa. And this is a guy that Spags and the Chiefs are pretty high on.
Yeah, I like Jeffrey Bassa. I thought that was a pretty good pick. Again, I think you look at what coaches from around the league and other scouts think about Jeffrey Bassa, and Mike Vrabel, one of the best linebackers to ever play the game. He was with the Patriots dynasty. He was with the Chiefs. He really liked Bassa. I thought he was going to take him as high as the second, maybe third round, and he just couldn't find a way to pull the trigger on it, and then he just falls to the Chiefs. So I think that all the way back during the draft process, this was a kid. He was a linebacker that was definitely a top 7, top 6 linebacker in lots of people's eyes. I think he was number 5 or 6 on our board, and he flies around. He makes plays. I think a lot of people liked him, and somehow Brett Veach just pulled his wizardry, and he pulled it off like usual.
Right. So there's a lot of exciting things about Bassa, in my opinion. It's a guy he's a tweener. He was a safety, converted to linebacker. He's a cover linebacker. He's very fast. A lot of people talked about Willie Gay being gone. They wanted him back. They thought they missed Willie Gay in the defense last year and having a guy like that. I think Jeffrey Bassa is similar to him, but I also think Bassa is a little bit different from him when it comes to the mental game and everything, and even some aspects of his physical game. Still a crazy athlete, just like Willie Gay, but I feel like he might be a little bit smaller than Willie. I'm not for sure about that. That's just me eyeballing. And then on top of that, I know that Jeffrey Bassa was a green dot in Oregon. He ran that defense, man. So this kid's really smart, and it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, Jeffrey Bassa is – I think he's cracked up to what everybody thinks he's going to be. Like you said, he was the green dot in Oregon. We had actually said pretty much this exact same comparison that Chiefs Kingdom went wild with today, Steve. We've always compared him to Willie Gay and his coverage ability and the way he could fly around. But we also said he's got that other part to his game. And so when who was it they compared him to? They compared him to 2 guys. Nick Bolton had said that today, right? He said it was Willie Gay Jr., and he compared him to who was the other one?
Well, if you bring the tweet up, you could read it. Pete Sweeney says
it.
Nick Bolton describes linebacker Jeffrey Bassa's play style as a combination of Willie Gay Jr. and Leo Chanel.
Okay, yeah, so it was Leo. Yeah, Steve, we had said that because Leo, he's physical, right? So he's physical. He's mean. He brings the toughness. That's kind of like what we had thought. I think you even kind of pointed that one out because I would compare him to Willie Gay, and you was like, I see a little bit of Leo in him as well. And so we'd said this a little bit before. He's kind of that guy.
Yeah, he seems very willing to lay the hit on somebody. He can come down in a quickness, and he can get side to side like Willie Gay, man. And I just really like his coverage ability. I do think the Chiefs have been lacking that a little bit. A lot of people were talking about the linebackers not being able to cover it all last season. People were really kind of ragging on Nick Bolton all season long. But seriously, when you go look at the statistics and you go to PFF and look at the grades, Nick Bolton wasn't that bad in coverage, but it just felt like the linebackers were bad in coverage because we were so terrible on third down and long. Always had a tight end or someone floating over the middle of the field wide freaking open. And I don't know if that was so much the coverage was bad or just the scheme was bad. We played a lot of zone that we didn't normally play last season. Just left a lot of holes in the middle of the field. And I think people are excited to get someone like Jeffrey Bassa out on the field that can maybe help with that right there. But that's another thing. Is Jeffrey Bassa really going to play that much on the defense his rookie season? Because I think at first you're going to see him as a special teams guy mostly, but how much time can he pull with people like Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquill, Leo Chanel in front of him?
I think he'll pull a decent amount of playing time. I don't think Drew Tranquill is the long-term solution here. I think this is why they drafted him. He's kind of an upgrade to Leo if he pans out to be what he is, right? So he plays the style of a Drew Tranquill, and that's what he is. Leo should be able to log more snaps this year, but we've said this 2 years in a row, and he continues to only play less than 50% of the defensive snaps. So they've got a certain type of situation they want to play Leo in, and that's what they stick to a lot. Leo's pretty good in coverage as well. I think Boss is supposed to be a little bit better. He's a little bit quicker. He should do that. He should be what Willie Gay was supposed to be, but Willie Gay just could not get there. I don't know if it was a mental thing or just a physical limitation to Willie's game. I don't know what it was, but a lot of people in the offseason was thinking Willie Gay could come back. And I think Brett Veach and the Chiefs were like, look, we're going to go get a guy that's more rough around the edges. He doesn't have the NFL experience. Obviously, we're going to go take our shot with the rookie here, but this kid's got all the intangibles, and he could be what Willie Gay maybe could not be. And so I think he'll find his way on the field because, like you said, third down situations for us, I don't care if it was 3rd and 6 or if it was 3rd and 26, our linebackers found a way to almost give up that long pass right over the middle of the field to the hash marks maybe. Like it never really got outside the numbers. It was between the hashes. That's where those linebackers always seem to let up that 3rd and long, or we've seen it on 4th down a few times. So they've got to get somebody that can cover a little bit better there. And like you said, Nick Bolton, he done okay according to metrics and PFF and this and that, but Nick Bolton's just not a coverage. Like you do not look at Nick Bolton and say, hey, there's my coverage guy. You just don't do it. It's not him. I think it's Bossa's role, and I think he probably, depending on how good he can do with special teams, he may be forcing out guys like Jack Cochran or, people like that's Cole Christensen, somebody like that's routinely kind of been on the cusp of making the team or had made the team. And so, he's right there.
Right. I would just get ready to hear a lot more about Jeffrey Bassa, Chiefs Kingdom, because I think he's going to be an asset for the Chiefs. He was on Spag's hip pocket the entire voluntary OTAs, rookie minicamp, like everything. They've been pretty stuck like glue, man. I think he really likes that piece that they've gained through the draft there. He seems pretty excited about it. I think that would be a good fit. So I think we'll hear more about Jeffrey Bassa, especially as camp kicks off and everything. But let's move along to something that's pretty damn important, Mike. I think a lot of people would like to hear about this one. I'm sure they already know, of course. But Pete Sweeney says head coach Andy Reid expects both offensive tackle Josh Simmons and wide receiver Rashee Rice to be full participants at the start of training camp. So Joshua Simmons drafted late. A lot of people thought they're just going to sit him out in his entire rookie season and let Jalen Moore have that job. A lot of people were still kind of thinking that, even though you saw Simmons getting back in a timely manner from that injury. Andy Reid told us a couple weeks ago that he thought that he'd be ready by camp. Now there's official word. They are full participants as soon as camp starts. Yeah. So I think we're going to see a hell of a battle for left tackle.
Yeah, I don't know if Jalen Moore's actually doing anything to this day. I don't know if he's actually putting in a lot of time there. Nobody's really talked about him. I don't think it's a good thing that you were maybe, I don't even want to say maybe. I think he was the biggest offseason signing we had for the team, besides maybe Trey Smith or getting back Nick Bolton. But I think he was maybe the most high-profile signing we had in the offseason. That's where Brett Veach sunk that money into. And not hearing about him, to me, that's not good. You're under the radar too much. Like, you needed to come in here, and they were looking for you to be that Patrick Mahomes protector, that guy that could take this offensive line up a nice step. And instead, all we've heard with him is he's on the sidelines. He showed up today, but he doesn't have his helmet on. He's doing stretches, but he's not doing individual workouts. look, you got to get out there and get something going because Josh Simmons can play. He can play. And I think where Moore had the leg up is he was paid more guaranteed money. He's been in the league longer. He played behind Trent Williams, which is one of the best, if not the best left tackle to probably put on a uniform. He had all that going for him, but I feel like he's lost all of his momentum because Josh Simmons come in and he's gained momentum with the injury and the rehab has turned out better. And he's actually been able to get out there and contribute a little bit. I feel like Josh Simmons is gaining all the momentum here, and it might be his job to lose at this point.
I mean, it sure seems that way. And I mean, here's the thing. I don't know if Jalen Moore, maybe he is a second option after they drafted Josh Simmons. I think they went and got him before that because you didn't know you were going to get Josh Simmons that late in the draft. You had no idea. So you literally had to do something to try to patch up that left tackle position. And I think that Jalen Moore was the best option at that time. So I think they went ahead and got him. They might have, a lot of people think they overpaid him or whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to say that until I see what the guy produces. But at the same time, I don't think they thought that they were going to get Joshua Simmons that late in the draft. I think it was a gift. So yeah. I don't think that necessarily just because they had signed Jalen Moore that it's his job to lose. I think right now that Joshua Simmons is healthy and getting healthy at the right time. I think it's just going to be a good old-fashioned camp battle to see who wins that spot at left tackle. And if it's the rookie, they're going to go with the rookie.
Yeah, do you think there's anybody else within that left tackle situation that has a shot? You think Wanye has a shot of winning something in camp? Do you think Ethan Driscoll has a shot? Do you think Essa Pole, anybody like that?
No, I think that's a waste of breath even talking about that. If that was the case, maybe Asa Pole, we can exclude him. I mean, he's a UDFA, but he wasn't on the team last year. But anybody that was on this roster last year, they are not someone that's going to be considered for left tackle, or they would have been playing it last season.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you that. I mean, obviously, you had to go out and address it, but I'm just saying, like, Ethan Driscoll, he didn't make the team. He came out of nowhere as a UDFA last year.
Yeah.
He's got some potential, though. I'm just saying, like...
Right. So, he's got potential, but he's definitely... I mean, obviously, he wasn't ready last season. They never even gave him any snaps.
Right. I mean, I think it's a two-horse race, obviously.
Yeah,
but you give Jalen Moore a lot of money, man. If Josh Simmons beats... If he beats him out, I mean, you've got to keep him on the roster in case Simmons was to be injured or just struggle like
right. I mean, it's kind of dumb luck right there, isn't it?
Yeah.
You get Jalen Moore, and then you turn around, you get to draft Joshua Simmons. Joshua Simmons starts, and he were to go down, you have Jalen Moore. So, I mean, really, you've kind of padded that up over there. I like the idea. I know people don't want to pay Jalen Moore, $15 million a year? Yeah, but at the same time, I'm okay with any kind of offensive line depth. Every time we see a Patrick Mahomes team struggling, I think the obvious answer is, the offensive line's underperforming.
Yeah, the root
He's not getting enough time.
Of the problem.
Right?
Yeah.
That's usually the root of the problem. So I think you can't have too many. Like, just have them there. If you overpay a little bit, then oh well. I'm not going to cry.
Isn't that a good position to overpay
not.
For? With Patrick Mahomes
Absolutely.
As your QB, that's a great position to overpay for.
Absolutely. And now that you have Kingsley playing left guard, hopefully that pans out well. He seems to be excited about it. He obviously is physically gifted enough to do it as long as he can get comfortable there. Obviously, he's not going to be a Joe Tooney right off the bat. That guy's a generational talent at left guard pretty much. But, I mean, I think he'll be okay. And when you have other guys, like you mentioned, Wanye, you got Driscoll, Asa Pole, if he were to make the squad as depth, you have a lot of other guys back there. Norzad, CJ Hansen, Mike Caliendo. That's all just depth, and I'm okay with it.
Right. You brought up Caliendo. You brought up Kingsley. Andy talked about him today. He said he's had a great offseason. Talking about Mike Caliendo, he said he's a great kid. He's very, very smart. He's a hard worker. He's gotten better every year. For him to step in and how he played last year, he knows he can do it at this level. Says the building blocks are the same as they were with Nick Allegretti. Steve, we've kind of said this before. We compared him to Nick Allegretti a little bit. Now, I thought Nick Allegretti was further along at this point in his career, but it would make sense. Nick Allegretti, I think, come out of a bigger college. He had better competition. But Andy likes Caliendo. So as much as the Chiefs Kingdom has just been so down on Caliendo, I think they give Caliendo an unfair shake. I really do.
Absolutely.
They put Caliendo in the same vein as, as a Felix not panning out. Well, Felix was a first-round draft pick.
Right.
Sky Moore's a second-round draft pick. Like, this guy was a UDFA that's
I
always
mean-
been on the cusp of making the team, and last year he
Right.
played some valuable minutes, man.
I get kind of annoyed at that whole argument because that seems to be like the go-to. Like, well, or not Allegretti, I'm sorry, but Caliendo just sucks. He's terrible. He got wrecked, and it's like, do you guys not understand? This is a UDFA that came in and gave you so many meaningful snaps that your team got to the damn Super Bowl. Like, what are you doing?
Look, people are going to get beat. I think
Like,
people.
that's insane.
Look, the Chiefs are never going to have a player. You're never going to have a player, and even Patrick Mahomes, maybe the greatest to ever play. Patrick Mahomes don't win every rep.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes makes a lot of mistakes back there. He just tends to make less mistakes when it counts. So that's the thing. Like, Caliendo made a lot of mistakes, but for the most part, he held up pretty well. And look, I'm going to take Andy. And if Andy tells me that he's a hard worker, a great kid, and he's very, very smart, and he says he's gotten better every year, which is something we've pointed out, he's gotten better every year. I think we take Andy's word for it. And we stop trying to project whatever it is people want to project on Caliendo. I think it's a little weird. It's odd behavior. It's kind of a little spoiled behavior in a way. Oh, I'm sorry. Our UDFA that had to come in and play in a pinch got beat on a few reps. Boo-hoo.
Yeah, for sure. And like you
let's
said,
destroy the guy.
Andy's
and ruin his
high on
career.
Caliendo.
What?
Andy's high on Caliendo. Actually, before the AFC Championship game, he actually said, or suggested, either way, that Mike Caliendo was their new Nick Allegretti. He pretty much said they were the same player and that you could kind of plug and play them and use them different spots on the line. And he said they were similar. He thinks that they were similar. So people that think that Allegretti was just light years ahead of Caliendo, I think that's more of just personal opinion than anything. Or maybe it's like a recency bias thing where
It is. There's
Mike
a lot of recency
Caliendo
bias.
Mike Caliendo didn't do well in the Super Bowl, so we're automatically going to put him below Allegretti. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's definitely a guy that Andy likes, and he's going to be on the team, and he's going to be depth. And I mean, that's the thing about it. I think people should like that because if Kingsley doesn't turn out to be a decent left guard, a lot of people thought he's going to be a good left tackle. That didn't pan out for whatever reason. So what if he doesn't pan out at guard?
Don't
At
say
least
for
you have
whatever
Allegretti
reason.
to fall back. Or I keep calling him Allegretti. If you could have Caliendo to fall back on.
Right. We know why Kingsley didn't pan out. Okay. I can just about tell you why Kingsley didn't pan out. I don't think he had enough camp competition. I don't think there was enough guys there in his way.
Yeah. Well, I think that his
And I think coming out of that small school and just getting hit with a Trey Hendrickson in game number 2, which again, he didn't play horribly that
Absolutely.
entire game. Like, people
started-
act like he
he
was
got
beat
wore
from
down.
snap 1.
He
But
got
yeah,
wore
he
down.
started getting worn out late in the game, which means Trey Hendrickson just kind of, he's going to figure him out. It's probably the best pass rusher in the league.
Well, I think the sample size was too small, right? Like it wasn't much of a chance. You get him a half? Like, so I mean, it's not.
Yeah,
it's
but,
very difficult to look
Andy
at that.
never
and be
went
like,
back to him though, so it either killed his confidence, either got that golfer's attitude, where the mental game gets in the way, or they just decided very quick that he just can't do it.
Okay. Pop's in the house with the 10 bomb. Says 1 month to training camp, ladies and gentlemen. Let's freaking go. I can't wait, dude. I'm excited about camp. I actually think this camp is going to be more fun to cover and follow than any previous one because I feel like there are more critical position battles this year than there have been in the last few years.
Yeah. I feel like the wide receiver room is going to be fun, which we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. But I feel like that room, I feel like the cornerback room is super deep. I think that 4th, 5th, 6th linebacker position is going to be fun to watch. I think the defensive line got better. And then, of course, we've got to pay attention to the offensive line. So,
yeah. I think left tackle is going to be very interesting. And like you said, wide receiver is going to be fun this year.
running back. Didn't even talk about that one yet.
Right. You got 4 or 5 guys in the wide receiver room that I think are pretty much a lock on this roster. But it kind of depends. Really, you never know. You never know. They could surprise us. But I kind of think that when you're talking about that, when you think about Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Jalen Royals, I feel like they're not going anywhere. Right. I really don't. It'd be hard pressed to think that they might go ahead and cut Juju. You've mentioned that or whatever, but
early on you thought that was an idea.
I don't see that either. I
can't
don't. I
get
think
behind
he's
it
like
anymore.
he's your experience in that room, and I know he's not that old. He's only like 27 or 28 years old, but he's been in the league for like 25 years now.
Well, yeah, I can't get behind that anymore. At first, I thought it was an idea because you are young, you're deep, and you're like, look, maybe we can do this. But from what I've seen of Juju so far, he's come in a much better shape. he seems to have the mental game back down, and he is looking very good in the process so far. So, barring some kind of an injury, which Juju runs into those a lot, he'll run into injuries that nag him. But barring that, I mean, Juju, I think, has earned a spot. So I think there's definitely 5 that they're going to take for sure. There may be a 6th guy that they'll probably take, which
Andy
is going to have to
normally
offer
takes
a lot of
6
special
most
teams.
of the time, and they have 7 before. But
I think it's almost
6
impossible to take 7 this year.
Well, we'll see. But I mean, Andy typically takes 6. That's normally where he's at. The last, I don't know about last year, but there's the year before that they took 7. I know of. This season's a little different. I think there's just going to be a lot of competition on the back end of that wide receiver room,
Right.
and usually a lot of people want to bring up, well, what about Nico Remigio? I want to see him in the offense. We just talked to Garrick Dieter the other day, and he said that he thinks maybe Nico's just too small to be really that effective in the offense. Maybe that's something that they've talked about behind the scenes. I don't know, but he seems to think his size could be a factor in why they
I
haven't
don't
used him on
understand
the
that one,
offense.
though.
I don't know.
The
I
Chiefs
think
have
it's
always
because-
relied on a lot of small guys to play wide receiver. I mean, you can go all the way back to
Right, but lately,
mean,
if you've
good
noticed,
grief.
like even like with Sky Moore just wasn't working out. Like he's a bit of a smaller guy, but at the same time, it's like Andy just expects these guys to play all positions at wide receiver, and guys like that are not going to be good in certain positions. Like Nico, he's got to be a slot guy, no doubt about it. You're not putting him on the outside and getting a whole lot out of him. I mean, you maybe could, but most people want to bring up Nico, and they want to bring up other guys like Sky Moore or Elijah Badger. Mac Delana has surprised some people with his speed and his
he's
abilities.
looked really good so far.
Right. So, but I think the one that people, it kind of got a little bit of hype because it got brought up and people kind of forgot he was there. But he seems to be doing consistently well and being in the name, like in the mouths of people that are important. And that's Tyquan Thornton. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid on Tyquan Thornton says, I like Tyquan. I like the way he approached things. He's got the quarterback's trust. Bing, 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 bing. So Patrick Mahomes likes Tyquan Thornton, and it's obvious to Andy Reid. He said that's an important thing. He's got some valuable reps here. So far, so good. I'd like to see him in a game situation. So do you think if they go out in preseason and Tyquan Thornton gets some snaps early and has a connection of any kind with Patrick Mahomes, do you think he's going to lock up the back end of that wide receiver room? Because he's the one that's everyone's talking about.
Right. Well, he's blazing fast. I think he runs 4.2s, 4.3s. Coming out of Baylor, he was looked at as a deep ball threat, a guy that could go over and make some catches in the middle. He was an explosive guy. He just couldn't get it together in New England. But I mean, come on, he was playing with Mac Jones.
Yeah, bro, that's nobody getting
tough.
it together over there.
So, I mean, but coming to Kansas City does not automatically mean that you can turn it around. We've seen Kadarius Toney kind of struggle with that. Even with Mahomes, they just couldn't get on the same page. I think it's telling that him and Mahomes are on the same page so far. I think so far so good. He's not going anywhere before, they get to the preseason. So definitely you're going to see him in the preseason at some point. I do think he has to ball out a little bit because we've seen, again, Khalif Hallisey had one of the best preseasons that you could have as a corner for the Chiefs last year. He
Yeah,
had one or
and they
two
just
picks,
let him go.
and he was gone. So it
That's
doesn't
crazy.
necessarily mean that you're going to play well and automatically make the team. They kind of have to have a little bit of insight going in beforehand. And it sounds like Tyquan Thornton is getting the right looks right now. I would
think
probably
so.
put Tyquan Thornton as the 6 right now. And I think the other day, I mean, it was mandatory OTAs day 2. Tyquan Thornton was, he was rotating in pretty heavily on 7-on-7s. So he's getting his looks. Tyquan Thornton could be the guy that pushes Sky Moore off the roster this year.
Well, that's the thing. I kind of wanted to bring that up, and I don't want to touch on Sky Moore too much. But I've been looking around at some different things. There are some guys that they're fairly close to the team or close to the players anyway. And I think that I think Sky Moore and Patrick Mahomes have more of a relationship than people think. I think that Mahomes actually likes Sky Moore. For whatever reason, they've not been able to hit. It seems like their chemistry was trash, right?
They do get together a lot in the offseason.
Yeah, so I think there's something more to that. So, I mean, for the people that are just ready to bask in the glory of Sky Moore being off this team,
I'm just going to ask you, how does Sky
I
Moore
would
make
say
the team?
not. I would say not so fast, just in case. Like I think it's first perfect time to be like, just like Dieter said, cut him before camp, let him go somewhere else. Because I think Sky Moore has enough talent to succeed somewhere in some system if they use him okay. I'm not saying he'd be anything groundbreaking, but I think he could have a career. And basically the way he's performed in the first 3 years, there's not much of a career for him in Kansas City, right? There's just not.
Okay, so are we saying Sky Moore is wide receiver 5?
I'm not saying that. That's not what I was saying, but I am saying if he makes the 53-man roster, don't let your heads explode. Just don't. I mean, just kind of expect it a little bit, but if they go ahead and cut him, then cool. But don't freak out because,
I'm with you. I don't think it's a surprise it's not a surprise if he makes it, and it's not a surprise if he got
and
cut
apparently having the opinion that Sky Moore could make the roster, you got to put a disclaimer with that. That doesn't mean he's our guy or that we love him more than everybody on the planet. That's just us telling you, like, don't freak out if they put him on the roster. We called it last year. But
again, I want to ask, you've got the top 4 guys. You just named them.
Yeah.
5. So who's your top 4?
I mean,
you've got
the top 5.
You've got Hollywood Brown. That's your 2.
Yes,
you've got Xavier Worthy's your 3, and Juju's the 4.
And Jalen Royals.
Jalen Royals is going to be your 5 probably.
Right.
So I think they take one more. They cannot afford to take 7 wide receivers this year and take the extra running back. They have to take the extra running back. They're not taking 2 running backs. They're not taking
5. They're not taking
2.
Okay, but that's silly. Like, I know that's been passed around a lot.
They're not taking 5.
Dieter
Who are they cutting?
I don't think that Carson Steele is very much in that conversation.
Carson Steele does a lot of special teams work, and he offers Andy the option of the fullback position.
But are you going to take him over any of the other guys?
Sky Moore as a 7th wide receiver, or Carson Steele as a 4th running back, or a fullback? Yes,
5th running back? That's not happening.
A fullback.
I understand, but we don't use fullbacks. No one uses fullbacks anymore.
What do you trust more?
San Francisco.
4th down and 6 inches. Do you trust Sky Moore to catch a pass over the middle?
I hand the ball to Kareem. Or do you hand the ball on about my business?
You can't. You got to throw the ball to Sky Moore, or you got to run the ball with Carson Steele. Which one you trust in the most?
I mean, obviously, I'm going to run the ball with anybody in that situation. But that's just my point, though.
I just don't see how you can take 7.
For you to say that you can't take 7 wide receivers, but in the same breath think that they're going to take 5 freaking running backs is wild.
If you look at 7, if you look at 7 wide, then you have to cut somewhere. Like, you're going to have to cut, or you're going to have to keep the rooms the way they were last year. So they're taking more than 2 running backs. Last year they just took Pacheco and Clyde. That was it.
They're going to have 3, probably 4. I'm guessing 4. They're not having 5. They're not going to put Steele on there as a fullback if they keep Hunt, Elijah Mitchell, and Brashard Smith behind Pacheco. I just don't see it. I don't know how you can do that. Like, at that point, you're
Andy's done
sacrificing
it in years past.
Has he? Have we had 5 running backs?
He's took 5 running backs. I want to say he took 5 running backs 3 out of the first 6 years he was here.
I don't know about it, man. That's something to look up, though. That's a good thing.
I think I've done it before. I'll go find it.
Yeah, Buck and Bob with a 20 bomb. Let's freaking go. It's still going. Let's make it stop real quick.
You're just hammering that out today, huh? Get it going.
I don't even know where it's at anymore. All right. Buck and Bob with a 20 bomb says, got COVID from Worlds of Fun on Saturday. It sucked, but back to 100%.
That's not Worlds of Fun.
That's wild. Glad it's over already. Says, I can't wait for training camp to see these guys with pads on. Also, you mentioned possibly having us as guests. Buck or I would be honored. Yeah, we'll probably be hitting you up soon. We're doing a whole series of having different creators and stuff on, and kind of just a little series for members. So we'll have videos with people on, but there's also going to be some more fun to that with just members only videos. You'll be getting your first of those coming real soon. So yeah, we'll probably hit you up, man. Appreciate the 20. Thanks for the support, but super excited about seeing these guys with pads on. That's where it all changes, right? Like you can speculate a lot of things, just maybe what these rookies could do or these new guys can do, but you don't really know what they are till the pads come on. Yeah. I mean, quite honestly. And then sometimes you don't really know what they are until the season starts. Like, it's not like people have had great camps and then they just never contribute. So, I mean, it's definitely a lot of speculation now, but I do think you'll start seeing a little bit more when the pads do come on.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, but anyway,
You're right.
Back to the conversation we were having. It just kind of depends on how things pan out. But I mean, there have been years that Andy took 4 tight ends. There's been years where they've took 3. It kind of just depends on how that roster shakes out. I just don't see a world where you can have 5 running backs, 4 tight ends, and cut down some receivers that maybe should be on the team. And I'm not saying Sky Moore should be on the team by any means, but maybe Tyquan Thornton should. Maybe one of those other guys could make the roster and should be on the team. But I don't know. I don't know how that all fits in. I'm not going to do the math in my head right now. But
here you go. I found it. So when we signed Kareem Hunt, Seth Kaiser had wrote, "This is a cheap deal. I get it to an extent," because remember, nobody was wanting the Kareem Hunt signing in the offseason. Do we all remember that? When I said we should sign back Kareem Hunt, everybody said, no, we shouldn't. We don't need Kareem Hunt. Like, everybody turned on Kareem Hunt in the offseason. And let's not act like we didn't. Everybody did. So a lot of people didn't like it. Seth Kaiser, none of these guys kind of liked it. No shade. They just didn't like it. So he made it like, this is a cheap deal, so I get it to an extent. But I'm curious what the overall plan is now that they have Hunt, Pacheco, and Mitchell on the roster in terms of a draft pick. Well, in terms of a draft pick, they took Brashard Smith. So that answered that question. So anyways, I wrote this. I said it's not a hard concept to grasp to think you can have a 1-year deal with a good vet like Hunt and still draft a running back. Surprise, surprise, who was right? Me. You took Hunt in a 1 year and you still drafted a running back. Andy took 4 running backs and a fullback in 2018, 2020, 2021, and 2022, Steve. 4 years has he taken all 4 of those guys, or 5 total. So Andy's done it 5 times.
But you don't think it ever occurs to Andy, like, I don't even run the damn ball. What do I need 15 running backs for?
Andy's not worried about that. Andy wants playmakers in situations. Running backs contribute a lot on special teams. Running backs can also catch balls out of the backfield in certain situations. They can line up in the slot on certain situations. You can move them out to wide receiver in the case of Brashard Smith. They're playmakers. You want to get your ball in the hand of playmakers. Running backs are playmakers.
Agreed, but I mean, I do think Carson still it's really going to be a hinge on special teams with him. I think I don't think as far as him just being a go-to guy with the ball or just being a fullback is going to be a thing. I just don't. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I
just think that Andy wants the fullback back. I think he felt comfortable with it last year. I think the offense was designed to have that fullback position last year, and I think because of the wide receiver room problems and then Pacheco going down, I think there was some disconnect there, and it got out of hand. And I just think that it would not surprise me, because if you cut a running back, I just cannot see them bringing in Elijah Mitchell and actually axing him, even though that would probably be the guy if he can't find a spot. And I just don't think they're going to get rid of Kareem Hunt. I just don't. Like, Dieter even said that. It wouldn't surprise him if they did, but he can't see it. And I'm in that same boat. And I just think if you take 5 running backs, that's going to be 2 more roster positions now that you would have to cut. So where are they cutting from? Because Andy's
I really
he's
do
not
think
giving up that 10th lineman. I
think 6 wide receivers is probably the magic number there. I don't see them taking 7 again. The year they took 7.
So maybe you cut that extra linebacker. Remember, they took an extra linebacker last year, if I'm not mistaken.
They did.
They took Jack Cochran.
Jack Cochran, that's who it was, right? Can't remember.
So maybe now they just go with Leo. Maybe Bassa can do some of that. And of course, you're going to take Drew and you're going to take Nick Bolton. So maybe they take 4, but you almost have to take 5. And I would think they're going to take that kid from Indiana they like so much, Cam Jones. But Cam Jones could be off the team, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some names that you probably don't expect to be off this year that are going to be. I think that has to. There's a lot of depth at the cornerback position. All those guys can't be on the squad. I mean, there's a lot of depth everywhere. And I just think that, I don't know. Offensive line, you're looking at probably, 9 or 10 guys at least.
You think you can do something cute on the back end of, say, the safety room? Because you've got a lot of DBs on your team that have played safety before. Christian Roland Wallace made the team last year, and he may not even be able to make the team this year.
Right. Well, I mean, that's another guy. We have one of our young ones that Spags likes, Jamari Connor.
Right.
I think
Najee Johnson can play safety.
Right.
You've got a lot of guys that can do that. So I kind of wonder if you can be cute with the safety room. Maybe just take 2 or 3. Maybe just take 3, free that extra one up, and in a pinch, you pull off the practice squad or whatever.
Right. So, I mean, if the top 5 receivers are who we said they were, and I think they are, that's pretty obvious, then only one other guy can make the squad. Think about that. So
Yeah,
that,
who is it? Tyquan
one
Thornton?
spot, that one spot's going to be getting fought about by Nico, Tyquan Thornton, Sky Moore, Elijah Badger, Magdalena, Jason Brownlee. I'm probably
Brownlee's
missing
looked
some.
really good in camp so far too.
I'm probably missing somebody too. And it's just, that's a lot for one spot there. And each guy, they kind of they have their own,
Justin Ross.
Yeah, Justin Ross.
That's who
I
you
forgot.
missed, yeah.
Hey, naturally, because, I mean,
Oh,
this
you know
is
he's
his
going to
time
have 5 or
shine.
6 plays that just blow camp up.
This is his time to shine.
Yeah, this
okay?
is his time, baby.
But Justin Ross has made the roster a couple times.
Justin Ross.
So, I mean, you never know. Each guy has their own unique abilities, right? Because I think Nico could be a good piece of the offense if he were to be utilized correctly. But I think he falls in that Sky Moore category to where it's like, you kind of need to use Nico in a certain way. I don't think he's a guy that's going to go up and down and do everything that every receiver does. I just don't.
Well, I think
that's
wide receiver 6 has to be able to play special teams. We know Jalen Royals is going to do it at number 5. Juju's
Right,
not going to
so-
play special teams at 4. And your top 3, you're not going to play special teams unless it's the returner position and it's Xavier Worthy every once in a
Well,
while.
I mean, it's very well could be all the returning could be getting taken care of by Brashard Smith and Jalen Royals for all you know. Or like they don't have to go back to Nico. They don't have to go to Sky Moore for that. They don't have to do any of that. Magdalena would be a good option for that. I just don't know if the special teams thing is going to be that meal ticket this year. Like people normally do. They're normally like, well, they can do
Well, I
special
think you
teams,
got a lot of
so-
guys that can
Well,
play
so
the special
can everybody
teams.
else, right?
Right. You can play the special teams kind of like Nico, but now this year I think we're so deep that you have to add a little bit of offensive flair to it. So I think Sky Moore kind of has the upper advantage because the coach trusts him in all those positions, right? Which is
Right.
kind of, it's crazy, but I think Tyquan's right there. I think it's between Tyquan Thornton and Sky Moore right now.
Yeah, Peter says 4 running backs, 4 tight ends, and 6 wide receivers. That's what he's guessing here. That's probably not far off. Let's talk about tight ends a little bit because that's a fun one too. You obviously have Kelsey Noah Gray, Jared Wiley. You have now Jake Brenningstool.
And
Do they
Tonyan.
take and Robert Tonyan? Yeah. So do they take 4? We've seen years where they took 3. So I wonder what they do there. And if they do take 4, do they go with a young guy that shows some promise and can be an offensive weapon, or do they go with a guy like Tonyan that has flashed a little bit in his career but does a little bit of the dirty work too?
Right. If it were me, I think I take 3. I think I take 3. I take Kelsey, I take Noah Gray, and I go ahead and I probably just leave Jared Wiley on there.
What if Jake Brenningstool?
Unless
what if Jake
Brenningstool's so amazing you can't leave him off, which I don't know if it's
Right.
going to be that case once they start hitting.
So if Jake Brenningstool proves to be someone that you need to have as an offensive weapon on this team, like he earns it, and it's like obvious, like hey,
Right.
he can do us some good. Do you make him the 3rd, or do you go 4 because you don't want to leave
No,
Jared Wiley out?
I think you would have to make him the 4th, but you're going to have to make a concession somewhere else. But I think right now I would go in just being like, look, I got to take my top 3. And basically you've got 3 guys fighting for one spot. You've got Tonyan, Brenningstool, and Wiley fighting for tight end 3.
Melissa or Bucky or whoever it might be makes a good point. I think Wiley potentially could be starting the season on a pup list or something like that. So you might see something like that.
He's
happen. I don't
practicing
know.
right now. He's practicing as we speak. He's been putting work in, and Andy Reid said today that he should be ready to go by camp. So they're not looking to start him on the pup list or the IR.
Do we have a tweet about that?
As of right now, they're not looking. I'll go find it.
Bing. Right here. Yes. Coach Reed on tight end Jared Wiley, who was rehabbing from a torn ACL, says, I think we're going to be okay there. He got some work in the last couple of days, so I think we'll be fine there. So, I mean, it's nothing like crazy. But,
Right. Like he's not 100% committing that he's going to be ready to go by the season. So, I mean, you could do that. But look, if you're doing that, though, you're just kicking the can down the road. So when Wiley comes back after 4 or 5 weeks, what are you going to do with him?
I
You
agree
cutting
with
Brenning
that.
still now? Or are you just getting rid of another player you could have got rid of? Like, are you going to take Malik Herring and then cut him randomly? Like,
To me,
remember
that's
last year they took a lot of defensive ends that we didn't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
I think it
To
might have
me-
been Malik Herring.
To me, one of the camp stories that I think is pretty underrated or not talked about enough right now is Jared Wiley going to do anything? I mean, honestly.
I think
So,
Wiley does have to prove that he is what they thought he was when they drafted him. He's got to pull the old Dennis
That's my
Green.
thing, because it's like he's not showed us anything yet, and I understand it was because of
Well, he got injured.
But the Chiefs just re-signed Jaquarius Spivey too, right? They re-signed him again.
Well, look.
Shout out Spivey
They did that too.
in the chat, by the way.
Shout out Spivey, baby. I liked him when we were at camp last year. He was a monster, and me and you absolutely loved him. They would just throw him the rock, and he just caught everything. He was like a vacuum cleaner.
Is that his dad? Is that his dad or
yeah, I
a
think
family
so.
member that's always on our videos being like, they need to get Spivey back?
Yeah, dude, I'm glad they brought him back and gave him a look. I wish.
It's gonna be interesting. That room's gonna be very interesting.
Yeah, here's the thing with Wiley though is Wiley got injured. I want to say somewhere around late October, early November. So I mean, he had his opportunities. To play 6, 7, 8 weeks, maybe somewhere around that thing. And he never really got meaningful snaps. And again, this is the Andy Reid and the offense, but Jared Wiley's not that big. He's not that big blocking tight end. He's not that guy like the bulldozer and all those guys that we kind of missed. He's he's a big body, but he's more like a finesse guy. But so is Brenningstool. The Chiefs are just, and even Tanyan for that matter, they've kind of went away from that big blocking tight end that comes in and helps the ball go on 13 personnel, 14 personnel.
Well, I mean, I think if you have 4, I think that's good. If you got 4 that can make the squad, I think that's great. If it's Brenningstool shows you that he's going to be a good enough offensive weapon that you can't ignore it, then I say take him over Tanyan and roll with it.
So far, Brenningstool has not done, at this point, he's not done any differently than the same kind of hype that we got from Matt Bushman last year and the year before.
That's the guy I was trying to think of the other day. I said
that's what I'm saying. Matt Bushman was catching everything thrown his way. People were talking about he was going to make the team. And I'm just saying, Brenningstool in college. Now, I like Brenningstool, and I'm not throwing any shade at him. But Brenningstool in college, one of the reasons he did not get drafted was on his film, he would alligator arm things and drop it in traffic. We've not got hit yet. Nobody's put a pad on. When he starts going over the middle and Jeffrey Bassa comes over the middle or Nick Bolton and they start putting one on you, he may alligator arm a few and they may be like, look, he's not our guy.
Yeah, for sure.
So we got to get to camp. We've got to find this out.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. Appreciate you guys being here, by the way. Do us a favor. Take a second to hit the like button if you haven't. If you have any questions you want to get in the chat, get those in the chat. We'll try to get to you guys a little bit more here towards the end of this live stream. But yeah, appreciate you all. Thanks for being here. All that fun stuff. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do that. Ride with us through this season, man. It's going to be a very fun one, and we'll keep you covered on camp and all that stuff. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't. But yeah, let's get to the chat a little bit and just talk about whatever, dude. It's going to be a good off season though for content. I think there's so many things to talk about. Like it's been really, really dead the last month or two, but like I think we're going to have more than enough to talk about for the next couple of months until the season gets started. So that's freaking awesome.
I'm excited. Hey, one more thing before you go to the chat. Andy said that there's not going to be an early camp this year. They're not bringing in the rookies a couple days early. And basically he just explained like we did. There's just not enough people there. They got in a lot of good work already. They're trying to shorten stuff down. The NFL is becoming a 365. There's no off season here, man.
It is, and the Chiefs. I mean, a lot of people attributed that to their lack of success in the Super Bowl, and everything was like, well, they play long seasons. They're tired. Like, I mean, maybe Andy's just looking for any way to give his guys some relief. If you're in the middle of a dynasty where you're running towards Super Bowls, season in and season out, then maybe you're just looking.
It don't sound like a
little
lot, man,
windows.
If you're getting 3 days off in an Andy Reid training camp, that's a lot. That's going to add up a lot in the end.
Yeah, for sure. Mike, I hear that trainer rolling in, baby. We got a gifted memberships, 5 from Peter.
Let's go.
Appreciate you, Peter. Let's go. If you get one of those, make sure to thank him in the chat. Also,
Peter
our boy
in the chat.
Stoic.
Peter's legendary. Leave it. Leave him some ketchup. Put something
Stoic's
in
also
there.
legendary, by the way. He gifted out a membership.
Stoic, leave him some ketchup.
Yeah, ketchup's for Stoic, legendaries for
we
Peter.
Need some new. We need some new stickers. We need to have a fun sticker. Let's make a new fun sticker that says
like an emoji.
Yeah, let's do an emoji that. What could a good like horned up emoji?
We need a horn emoji.
We need a horned.
I don't know if we need a horned emoji. I can only imagine what that might look like.
Just some horns.
For those of you guys that are in the chat that are members, by the way, I was speaking earlier on a bit of a new series we're doing where we're going to have some members only videos, hopefully one a week. I have kind of the very first one thought out a little bit, have it done. We'll probably post that up maybe tomorrow for you guys. So you can check that out. It'll be pretty cool. It's just kind of a fun game me and Mike are doing with these guys. So we had Dieter on. If y'all didn't see that video that we dropped yesterday, highly suggest you go watch that. That was a good conversation. He has a lot of good insight on the team since he works with the team and he was on the team. So it was cool to hear things from his perspective. So if you didn't get to catch that, make sure you go watch that after this. And then we also have a guest that we're going to be recording a video with tonight, and we'll have more content for you later on. So if you're not a member and you didn't get one of the gifted memberships, I highly suggest that you go to join.allchiefedup.com, join for $4.99 a month, and you'll get all the extra videos and stuff too that we're about to drop. So let's do that. Let's see. Peter asked who my 6th wide receiver would be. If it was up to me right now, who would it be? That's a tough one. All I can go by is what I know. And Tyquan Thornton, that's the guy that people are talking about a lot. The players seem to like him. The coaches seem to like him. And that's such a tough one. And then Sky Moore, he also is in that boat. The players like him. He already knows the playbook. He was a second-round draft pick. He's still under contract. I mean, there's so many different ways you could go there. Nico with the special teams and stuff. If I had to just pick one right now, who would I pick? I'd probably go Thornton. Honestly. Right now. And that's just me not knowing anything. I haven't even got to see him in a game situation at all, really. Other than when he was playing with New England. But, I mean, the kid was a beast in college. Crazy athlete. Bigger guy. I think that maybe he could be a weapon. So, I would roll the dice on that one.
How good does Thornton need to look in a game situation to take over Sky Moore's job? I'm just going to ask that honestly, because if for example, because you just said you haven't seen him in a game situation, so Andy and them haven't seen him in a game. We've seen plenty of opportunities of Sky Moore in a game situation, and he hasn't looked that great. He's had a lot of problems, but yet he keeps being a favorite that keeps making the team, and they keep going back to him, and he's still wide receiver 5 in most eyes, and so that's what I'm saying. Like, Tyquan Thornton could go out here and crap the bed, and apparently they're going to be like, still good. We'll put him on as wide receiver 6, I guess.
No, I mean, we've talked about it time and time again till we're blue in the face. It just depends on how they want to use these guys. Because, I mean, here's the thing about it. If they decided to make Sky Moore a emphasis on offense and actually use him, there are ways they could have done it. But that's just not the route they wanted to go, right? So it really just depends on what the coaches decide to do. Because Tyquan Thornton, if you give him enough opportunities out on the football field and him and Patrick Mahomes can get any chemistry going, then yeah, sure, he could probably have a decent year. But it just depends on how much he's actually out there.
Can you
and
force, can I ask you a question? Can you force a player, no matter how good they are, let's say they're just, out of a scale from 1 to 10, 10's like a Randy Moss, 1's like a me trying to play football. Could you take a guy that's maybe a 5 to a 7 to a 9, somewhere in that range? Well, don't go to 9. Let's go to like 5 to 7. A mediocre, slightly above mediocre guy. Can you pump him into an offense, and can you create a guy that's good? Can you create somebody with creating space, creating plays, feed him the ball a ton of times, don't kill his confidence, and just force him into a good role?
I will fight this. I will stand on this hill till my death. I guarantee you that Sky Moore is a better receiver than Albert Wilson was. He's a better athlete. He probably runs better routes.
Albert Wilson made some big money in Miami after he left.
Of course, because Patrick Mahomes gave him that gift. Because guess what? They had no one else to go to, so he had to use Albert Wilson. You can force that on somebody. I'm telling you right now.
That's what I'm trying to say. So if you force Sky Moore the ball 10 times a game,
that's what I'm saying. He would put up enough numbers where everybody would say.
You think he's going to drop all 10 passes?
Absolutely not. And if they would use him in the slot position, get him the ball quick, let him work afterwards, I guarantee you his stats would be totally different what they are now. Like, it would be a totally different conversation. So, yes, you can force that on people. We made Demarcus Robinson relevant. We made a lot of guys relevant that probably shouldn't have been. And if you even go back to, like, Tom Brady, I mean, guys that were completely irrelevant for the rest of the league, like freaking Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, those guys wouldn't have done squat anywhere else. Like, so yeah, you can absolutely make a receiver's career, depending on how you use them and how much you want to use them. But that falls back on the receiver, in my opinion. Still, I'm not saying that anyone did them dirty. It still falls back on the receiver to earn those opportunities, and I don't think Sky Moore earned them. I think when he did get them, and they were little and few and far between, he squandered them.
Well, you're not getting those opportunities in an Andy Reid offense. You're just not doing it.
I mean, even Julia brought up McCole Hardman. I feel like Hardman could have potentially done more than he did when he was here. If they used him more in his later years.
They used him a lot his first couple seasons.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Those first couple seasons, he's a good example of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
They forced the guy that couldn't even. That guy couldn't hack it with the New York Jets, for Christ's sake. And we had him out here putting up good numbers. So, I mean, it really just depends on how you want to use these guys.
Yeah, like I don't think that McCole Hardman just magically third, fourth, fifth season in just decided he couldn't play football anymore. Like we just fed him the ball over and over. We forced him into being the guy. And I just don't think that Andy Reid does that.
And here's the thing about it. We're talking about our sixth wide receiver right now. None of them are going to be in that position because I guarantee you right now, God willing, everybody stays healthy. Rashee Rice is getting the bulk. Travis Kelce's going to get more than he got last year with Rashee Rice on the field and Xavier Worthy. I think Xavier Worthy could take a step up in terms of deep balls this season.
You know what I'm
but
afraid
you also
of?
got Hollywood Brown. There's just so many options ahead of you.
Here's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of Patrick Mahomes and the offense. I'm afraid of him getting back into the thing where he looks to Kelce a lot more because he thinks it could be Kelce's final season. So he wants to let him eat a little bit.
I'm okay with that.
I'm fine with it too. But I think Rashee Rice has earned – Mahomes likes to throw to Rashee Rice. You've seen that in the first 3 or 4 games last year before he injured him. He was starting to get a big bulk of it. What I'm afraid of is like what you've seen towards the playoffs. Hollywood Brown got lost in the sauce. You never seen him. He only had like 9 catches on the season, like in the regular season when he come back. Just like it was minimal. DeAndre Hopkins, they couldn't find a way to get him the ball. They wouldn't throw it to him.
Which
they
is wild.
Couldn't find a way.
Yeah.
So if you can't find a way to get D-Hop in the game, you can't find a way to get the ball to Hollywood Brown, and he was healthy, he was playing, I'm afraid that Hollywood's going to end up getting lost in this team this year, and he's going to be the overlooked guy. And he at the end of the year, we're going to look back and be like, we're going to say, how in the hell did Hollywood only have 398 yards on the season?
I mean, potentially, but that could happen to any of these guys with that many options, right? But I do think that Travis Kelce will be more of a player this year if Rashee Rice is healthy and on the field. I actually think they help each other because those are the two go-to guys. Those are the guys that defenses have to pay attention to.
Give me a reception total, or let's give a target, not a target, but a reception total.
Like a yard.
How many receptions do you think Hollywood has to have this year for us to say they didn't squander
I
a
don't
year
know
of
how
Hollywood
many
Brown?
receptions people get in a year. I don't know.
I'm just
That's a
saying,
wild
it's
stat
got to be
go
over
by.
like 60 or 70, right? If not, I think you squandered him.
I don't know. I don't know what's the normal amount of receptions. If we talk yardage or something, I could maybe come up with something. But
Okay,
I don't
well,
know
what's
how
a
many
good
receptions
yardage
people
number?
get. I think Hollywood Brown's got to be in a.
He's got to be at the
700
800 mark, in my opinion.
Depending on how they use them, that's another thing, though. But does it really matter if Hollywood Brown only had 500 yards receiving and Rashee Rice goes for 12? Does Xavier Worthy only getting 400 yards in his second season make him bad if Rashee Rice goes for 1,000, Kelce goes for 1,000, Hollywood Brown goes for 700? Like, there's so many different ways it can go. It's got to be distributed some way. There are so many weapons on this team. I don't think all of them can put up huge stats. It's just not going to happen. Like, there's only so much to go around.
There is a way. We got to start
Mahomes
putting up 60 a game, and we got to start beating people to death.
Well, Mahomes is going to go for 5,000 yards this year. So
You gotta start crushing
knowing
people.
that, let's distribute real quick. We still have about 7 minutes here. If you guys got any questions or anything, get them in the chat. We'll try to get to you. But let's distribute 5,000 yards amongst the offense real quick. If we had to guess, how would you distribute 5,000 yards? That's a hell of a season for Mahomes.
Right. Let's start with Kelce. I don't think Kelce gets to 1,000. I just don't.
Kelsey's
I think
breaking
Father
1,000 this
Time's
year.
there.
I
You
Kelsey
think
breaks
he's getting to
1,000
1,000? I don't. I think he gets to around 900 again.
I think he would have been in 1,000 last year, but he missed 2 different games.
Right. And it wouldn't surprise me if he didn't do that again this year. He's older. His body's going to break down. He could have a hamstring injury this year. He could be out
But
5 weeks.
you don't think Kelce will have more big games than he did last year? I feel like he only had 1 or 2 games where it was like really Kelce.
I think Kelsey's pretty much going to average between 50 and 70 to 80 yards a game this year. I don't think he's going to be. I don't think you're
giving him
ever going to
1,000.
see Kelce at his prime anymore.
I'm going to
It's
give him
just past
1,000 on the nose.
Okay,
I think
I'll
he
give it to
upflashed
you, but I would have put it somewhere around 900.
Well, how about you guys in the chat? Let us know. Do you think Kelsey will hit 1,000 yards? It don't have to be 1,001, just 1,000, or at least like 950. You know, anything that rounds up to 1,000. I think it's going to be 1,000.
Well, I said 900, so that's not that far off. So
Okay,
let's call it 950 then. You just said that.
wait,
I said
you're
9.
making
You said
math harder.
1,000. No, I'm not.
Let's see.
I've got a calculator right here.
All right, so let's go with Rashi Rice. Healthy all season long, no suspension, no nothing. Rashi Rice is going to do 1,200 yards easy. Easy. That's like nothing. This dude was on pace for what, 1,600 to 1,800 yards last year? So, I mean, he's going over for over 1,000.
So you're giving him 1,200. You're giving Kelsey 950. So we've got 2,850 to go
more
around.
than that, honestly, but we'll go 12 to be
I
safe.
honestly don't think Patrick Mahomes can get to 5,000 this year.
I think he can.
I think he's not even sniffed it in 2.5 years, 3 years.
Well, I think there's a big difference. Now, obviously, I could be completely wrong because this is pure speculation, but I just have this little hunch inside of me that you're going to see a lot of passing to the running backs this year. I think that Rashard Smith could put up 400 or 500 yards of receiving, if not more.
Of receiving?
Yes. Well, I
You're
don't know if
not
I go
even
that
off
high.
wide
Go
receivers
Jet.
yet.
I'm just saying. There could be a lot of passing yards to go around.
Well, look, if he gets 5,000, you've already got it down
Let's
to
go Hollywood Brown.
2,850.
Let's go Hollywood Brown. What do you think Hollywood's going to do?
Let's give him. I think he's going to be somewhere between 700 and 900. I really do. And if he doesn't even get to 700, I think you've misused him. It's been a poorer season, in my opinion. What's the point of paying him like he's like the big off-season wide receiver that you wanted to go get, and you can't even get him 700 yards?
Well, see, here's the thing. The year that Jerick McKinnon went crazy in the receiving game, he had 512 yards and 9
That's not even that
touchdowns
much.
receiving.
And he went nuts.
That's what I'm saying. So why would it be so out of the ordinary for
You think Rashard Smith's going to come in and put up that much in his rookie year?
I said, what did I say? 300 or 400
You said
yards?
400.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
lot.
totally possible. Totally possible.
Man, I would say he maybe gets 150 to 200 tops.
You're probably not wrong. Okay?
No, I'm being realistic.
But
You're being wild.
I said I just have this hunch that they could start, because I really do think that's a big missing part of this offense that helped it click. Like you have to have the little, like the short game to have the long game, and they want to hit the long ball. That's what they want to do. That's all they talk about. They want to get back to the big shots to Xavier Worthy. They want to push the ball down the field. They want it 30, 40-yard chunks is what they want. And I think to achieve that, first of all, you have to have a running game worth of crap. And I think they'll be okay in the running game this year. Nothing spectacular, but you got Isaiah Pacheco in a contract year. You got Kareem Hunt and then all the other guys we talked about. But I think a big part of that was our short passing game was crap lately too. Like when we had Jet, when he went for 500 yards receiving, the offense looked totally different because, I mean, it was just open things up. When you could dunk down to a running back that's going to get you that much yardage, 9 touchdowns, I think the defense has to start accounting for more things, and then you can maybe hit your deep shots. But I don't know, man. I think I could see that element of the game getting back in there. I think the offense ran smoother when we were able to throw to running backs. If you even look back to like Damian Williams, they passed to him a lot. So I just think it's something they got to get back to. And I don't know if Pacheco is that guy. Kareem Hunt's rookie season, that's another example. They passed to him a lot. So I don't know. I don't think that Kareem's that guy anymore necessarily, but I think that Rashard Smith could be.
I think it's wild that Pacheco hasn't been used more in that capacity.
Me too. I think so too. But
because
I
even
don't
his
know.
rookie year, I remember him coming in and they had him lining up at wide receiver on the outside throwing fades and stuff.
I think what happened there
Rashard
was
Smith.
he ended up being your number one bag. So I mean, he's the guy that's getting the bulk of the carries and everything, and you don't really use that guy to do that.
Some
right?
guy
Yeah.
actually commented on a video that we had today. It was the one with Dieter. He commented and said that me, you, and Dieter, it amazed him how stupid we were to think that Isaiah Pacheco was our number one running back. What?
So there's a slap nut that commented on our video. What's new?
What does that mean? Like, you think that Isaiah Pacheco's not running back one in Kansas City? Like, what are you smoking?
Where you been at, buddy?
Who's running back
Where you
one if
been
not
at?
Pacheco?
So you think Hollywood has to get to, what did you say, 700 to 900 yards?
I think he's got to
get
get to about 800 minimum.
But if you give 1,000, let's just say 2,000 yards between Kelsey and Rice, give or take, and then you give almost 1,000 to Hollywood. What does that leave for?
I think you got to give
what's that leave for
Worthy
Xavier
and
Worthy?
Hollywood
What does that leave
together.
for?
Worthy and Hollywood together has got to get to at least 12 to 14. And I think you've got to get to 12 to 14 with Rashee Rice and Kelsey. I think you have to be there. So that could be 2,800. That could be 2,200.
Yeah. I don't know.
So, I mean,
man.
but that would leave
I
2,500 yards to go with everybody else.
Royals should be able to contribute enough to get a few hundred, 300-400 yards, you would think.
What's Noah Gray gonna
Juju,
get? He needs to be getting
Juju
more.
had 100 and almost 50 yards in one game last year.
Well, that was it.
But I'm just
He's
saying.
good for one game where he's going to have 100 yards.
But I would, I'd rather see Juju be more of a consistent chain mover like he did when he was with us the first time, as opposed to the guy that only shows up for one or two games like last year. I want to see him back to more of a role where it's like Mahomes needs a little bit of security blanket. Here's a guy with some experience that's going to catch the ball for me. I'd like to see that get back into play. So
I think the moral of this story is, and the thing that brought all this up was, I am going to think if Hollywood Brown stays healthy all year long and he doesn't get 700 yards, I think it's a fail. What was the point of even having him?
maybe Flapjack with the 5 bomb says the yards for the offenses and wide receiver production is going to be based on the O-line. I don't trust this O-line moves, or these O-line moves, I guess. Change my mind if you can. So here's my thing. I think that I understand the protection issues that the Chiefs have had. I understand that they haven't had a good left tackle. I understand that they had a laundry list of problems there last year, right? But my thing is I feel like there's been a lot of coaching failure with that. There are several teams in this league that have mediocre offensive lines that still find a way to move the ball. And I just feel like the coaching kind of failed on that front. And a lot of what I just talked about. Why are they not using the short passing game? Why are they not getting the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands faster? He literally excels when he gets the ball out of his hands in less than 2.5 seconds. That's when he's his best. So why are we trying to design plays and worry about guys that can block for 5 seconds? Can we just design plays where Patrick Mahomes knows where he's going with the ball? Can we do that? We have all these guys we talked about: Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Royals is a crazy yak guy. There's even guys on your team that we talk about that suck and don't even need to be here anymore, like Sky Moore, who is a yak guy. And we're not throwing the ball to anybody to let them create after the catch. It's always go run a route that takes 10 seconds to develop, and then we're not going to throw it to you. Like, I'm sorry, but at some point, I understand Andy Reid is a genius when it comes to offense, and I understand he's light years ahead of what I can comprehend. But to me, it's just absolutely outrageous to have all these athletes on your team that are known for gaining yards after the catch, and we don't hit them quick. Like, it's mind-blowing to me. And I feel like that's a way to open your offense up, too. So I think Flapjack, if anything, I think the guys that they got to go on the offensive line, if the coaching staff could get the offensive scheme back to not making Mahomes hold on to the ball and be indecisive, I don't know if it's that big of a deal. I do think that it's going to be a better offensive line than last year. And that's saying a lot because, I mean, losing Joe Thuney is huge.
Yeah, I agree. Well, here's an article. Okay, look, so PFF come out with the final rankings of offensive line. They took metrics across the board, rated it, put it against other people. The number one best offensive line in the league was the Eagles, right? Obviously, they won the Super Bowl. They ended up giving Denver number 2.
Pro Bowl team, right?
Yeah. They put like the Lions at 4, the Bills at 5. The Chiefs, guys, at the end of the year, even with all of our problems, they finished at the number 7 high in metric offensive line.
And that's the lowest they've been in a while. They were top 5 last couple of years.
So again, all of our problems are coming from basically one position. It's left tackle, because the rest of them holds up well enough to keep us as a top 7 unit. So that's what I'm saying. Like, our offensive line was not as bad as we made them out to be, as in the coaches basically exposed these guys into looking that bad.
Have some faith, Flapjack, baby. It's going to get better.
Where you just said bad units put up good numbers, the Bengals were 30th in football, and Burrow puts up the biggest year he's ever had.
Right. Well, a lot of that's
So
garbage
it can
time.
be done.
But
It can still be
yes,
done.
yes, absolutely. Let's hit some questions real quick before we get out of here, Mike. Sam wants to know about Noah Gray. Noah Gray's going to get some yardage. I think they'll use him. I don't know if they'll use him much more than they did last year as long as Kels stays healthy, but
I think Noah Gray is on the verge of a big breakout year this year.
He's got to be.
I
Dude.
think this
the beginning
could
of last
see-
year was crazy.
I think this could be the year that Noah Gray gets within maybe a couple hundred yards from Kelsey. You may see Kelsey come down to human 700 and Noah Gray come up to like 400 to 500 this year.
I'm not going to argue with that.
You may see that gap starting to come down.
I'm kind of using Kelsey's fire and Kelsey's kind of being headstrong about this season to think that maybe he could get another 1,000-yard year and have a better year. But it really kind of depends on how they use those.
Well,
two,
Kelsey
right?
can want that all he wants, but if they start doubling him again,
That's what I'm
is
saying.
his body going to allow that?
Yeah, well, how much can you double them when you have all these other guys too? So I really think if the other guy can stay
that's
healthy,
that's a good one
will
too.
Royals have more yards than Brown? No,
He better not.
no.
If he does, we have a problem.
If he does, we have either a really good problem or a really bad problem, right? Like
Well, it's
either
a problem.
Royals
Either way,
completely.
it's a problem.
It's not a problem if Royals just goes crazy. It's not a problem because I mean, if he just comes out and outright earns more attention and goes for 1,000-yard season his rookie year or 900 like Worthy did and Rice did, you're not going to argue with that. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he'll get that much usage. So it could be.
I think Royals is looking somewhere around. Honestly, I think he plays between 300 and 500 in
That's what
that
I'm
area,
thinking,
and
too.
I would come more shooting to the 300 mark.
Same. Agreed. And that's me. And that's with me thinking that I think Royals is going to be good.
Oh, I think he's fine. I'm just
Yeah.
saying it's look, you can put up what 30 yards in a game if it's a good contributed 30 yards can be a difference maker. But at the end of the year, you're not having many yards out of that, you know.
Right. Kay Wayne says, who misses extended time due to injury this year?
That's a good question.
I don't want to jinx anybody.
Hope
That's my
nobody.
problem here, Kay Wayne. I think, we could speculate about it, but I feel like I'm going to jinx somebody.
I mean, honestly, just if you look at years past,
I would say a receiver.
It's gonna either that or probably like a Jalen Watson. He's always injured. This is the
Yeah.
problem, and why they drafted Noel Williams, and I don't think they'll pay Jalen Watson this year.
Yeah. I'll go. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go either a receiver or a corner. We'll just
Yeah, I
say
think
that.
you got to pick somebody like that that's got the
And
history.
I got some guys in mind, but I'm
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 not saying anybody. Actually, I don't even want to say Jalen Watson because I like him. But I'm just,
You did. You already cursed
I'm
him.
just saying that's the odds.
Yep. Pepe says, is the run game more dependent on the O-line or on the play calling?
Look,
Well,
I played
the run-
offensive line in high school. That's the extent of my football career. When the play calling was good and our coach was like actually seeing what the defense was doing and was calling plays for it, we moved the ball. When the play calling got stale and the play calling got our coaches just got in this thing where they wanted to call what they wanted to call and they didn't give a crap what the other team was doing, we struggled. I think it's the play calling more than the offensive line. And
Well, I
the
think,
run
I think
game,
here's the thing. Here's the thing, Pepe. And I think it's like you have an offensive line that is NFL caliber. So you have, very, what's
Right.
the word I'm looking for here? They're capable, a very capable offensive line if you're an NFL team. So it really depends on how you go about using everything. If you put them in bad positions, they're going to fail. I mean, look at the Bengals. Put them in bad positions, they're going to fail. The same way, I mean, we can say that with the guys that we had last season. Hey, you have to use Joe Tooney as a tackle, and you got to use a UDFA Mike Caliendo to go through the entire bulk of the playoff run and the Super Bowl. But you're not going to play call to help them? You're
Right.
screwing yourself.
you play called
Right.
to have
you
a
played
team.
straight to the strengths of the
Yeah.
opponent.
You had a team
Yeah.
that could prey on the weakness, and it was because of your play calling. I think it's all play calling with running backs. Yeah, we've seen plenty of
This
good
right
running
here.
backs not be able to chunk it off.
This right here, man. Yeah, Peter nails it. Andy outthinks himself a lot, and I think you saw that in the Super Bowl. And he's stubborn. He's very stubborn. Jenny says, "Go Chiefs! Love this podcast. Vibes just subbed. Appreciate you, Jenny. Let's go.
Appreciate you.
Nice to have you. Good choice by you. It's gonna be a fun. It's gonna be a fun year. It's going to be a fun year. Stanley says 300 yards per game passing to hit 5,000. It is doable this year for sure. Absolutely. I think Mahomes could definitely get back up in that 5,000 mark. It just really, But play calling, it really hinges on the play calling and just how things pan out, right?
Like I
There's
said,
a lot
Andy
to
doesn't
it.
like to put the gas down. He doesn't like to hammer on teams. So think about it. Mahomes could put up 250 yards in the first half, and in the second half they just come out and
Speaking of, Ray says, what week does Patrick McClone show up? Nah, let's hope he don't this season.
Dude,
Good Lord.
if you had to guess a week, give me a week. It's when you
I
least
don't know.
expect it. And
12.
it's usually on national TV.
I don't know.
I'll say like Commanders on Monday Night
some
Football.
Monday night game or something.
Yeah, it'll be something right in front of the world.
For all the haters to be like, Mahomes stinks, man.
Yeah,
What are y'all talking
just to
about?
feed into it. Sometimes I think Mahomes does it on purpose.
I want to see a 2018 esque year from Patrick Mahomes. There was no McClones that year. And, you know, I was thinking about that earlier. There's lots of different outcomes that I would like to change in games. And I think I saw a comment on one of our videos that made me think about this. But, you know, you go back and you're like, if you could change the outcome of one game in the last 8 years, 9 years during this run, which one would you do? And it's easy to say, oh, well, the Tampa Bay game or the Eagles game because that gives you a Super Bowl.
No,
I honestly
that's
think
not
I would go
mine.
all the way back to 2018, and I'd be like, maybe if the refs wouldn't have overturned a call when Julian Edelman touched the fumble and we had the game under wraps. In the same game, they call a phantom pass, roughing the passer on Chris Jones where he smacked air. In the same game, D Ford, we won that game 3 times.
Do you remember how the Chiefs get all the calls, though?
Exactly. We won that game 3 effing times, Mike, and that was maybe potentially one of the better Chiefs teams that you saw as far as putting points on the board.
Yeah, I
that
think
was
we
a Super
won
Bowl.
the Super Bowl
That
that
was
year.
a Super Bowl, and Patrick Mahomes' first year starting. Can you imagine how crazy that would have been going forward?
Yeah.
Like, it's insane.
That's a good candidate game. I
Yeah,
think if
man.
I had to pick, it's that one or it's the Bengals where we blew up in the championship game.
Absolutely, that's another one.
That's another
But
big
that
one.
was, but see, the reason why I say that is because that first game, they won that game. They outright won that game, and Patrick Mahomes was never McClone's that season. He wasn't McClone's then. They just got hosed. That game against the Bengals, that was McClone's fault. You know, so it's like I think that's why I go back to
Dude,
that.
Patrick Mahomes looked like he couldn't even hang on to the football. Remember they'd snap it and he'd just drop it.
That was disgusting.
I think he had money on that game.
Julian in the house with a 10 bomb says Rice being healthy will bring a big boost to the offense, 100%. Relying on him more, same with Worthy, Hollywood, and Royals. Defense really will bring a different energy and mindset this season. I think overall, man, this is a very exciting Chiefs team. Like, if I'm going by strictly talent on the roster, this is the most talented roster I think I've seen the Chiefs have under Mahomes so far. Like, am I wrong? Because I
National
can't
media
remember.
doesn't believe it.
Of course, because they're idiots. But if you
I don't know how
just
they
go,
don't.
Just go strictly by the wide receiver room. Have we had, even back with Legion of Zoom when you had Sammy Watkins and Tyreek Hill, you had DeMarcus Robinson, McCole Hardman. Like, I think front to back, this wide receiver room's hella more talented than that.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
it's
top
crazy.
three.
The
You're top
speed he
three.
has.
Steve, I would be willing to put our top 3 wide receivers with anybody.
Yeah,
I'm not saying they're as good. Like, you don't have anybody on our team as good as Justin Jefferson, obviously, but
Right.
I think our top 3 is solid.
I
Better
think so
than
too,
solid.
dude. It's a very, very talented team, and they're young. Brett Veach has kind of played this out. Like, that's the thing. If these young guys pan out the way I think they can, Brett Veach is going to look like a freaking genius because you're right in the middle of your dynasty. You're all these Super Bowl runs, and what's he done? He's been stubborn. He's not signed any big players that people wanted to sign. He
Right.
always goes to the draft. He always takes those underdog guys, and he's got himself in a position here where there's so much talent on this team, and they're all young.
And we've
like,
honestly-
if it pans out, there could be
Right.
the next
We've
8 years
honestly-
Mahomes could be better than the last 8.
Yeah, we've not hit that stretch of the dynasty like the Patriots. You could divide that up into 2 times because
Yeah,
they
they
had a
had
little
2
slump
separate
in the
ones.
middle.
Right.
The Chiefs, they want to say the Chiefs are falling off because why? We lost in the Super Bowl? Yeah, it was a bad loss, but it looked just like the one.
15-2 on the season
Right.
and lost in the Super Bowl.
And it looked just
Come
like
on,
the
bro.
same loss because of the offensive line versus Tom Brady, and then we chunked off 2 in a row.
Yeah, it
so
was
it's like,
definitely
I don't
deja
understand.
vu.
It's wild that we're now going into what, the 5th straight season of possibly getting to a Super Bowl or whatever it is. What is it, 4 or 5? I don't know what it is. But the point is like we're not anywhere near that like midpoint, like that death there right in the middle. We're like 2 or 3
Right.
years of just nothing. I just don't see that in the cards for the Chiefs unless there's a monumental explosion.
Yeah. Hey, Julian, we appreciate the 10 bomb, man. Thanks for the
Yeah, appreciate
support,
you.
by the way. You guys are awesome. You guys have donated and gifted out memberships. Appreciate you guys. That goes a long way to helping the channel and helping us grow and all that fun stuff. We love having you guys be a part of that. So definitely appreciate that. Let's get 2 more questions real quick, Mike, and I already got them. Number
Okay.
1, Pepe says, is Trey Smith worth the money he's going to want? I'm going to go with yes and no. Trey Smith is worth top dollar guard. He is. But I do think guards are overpaid. So let's go there.
Yeah, guards are big time overpaid in this league, but they make that money, and Trey Smith deserves to make that money.
Yeah, so a yes and no. Sorry to kind of play both
And
sides
again,
of
I
that,
think
but that's
Trey
just how I
Smith's
see it.
contract's a different situation, Steve. Again, he got drafted late because of some kind of a medical injury. Maybe he shouldn't have been drafted that late. So
Right.
it's kind of like, hey, he didn't make as much money the first time around. He wants to make up for it this time.
Right.
So
Yep, and I saved the most important question for last, by the way. So, peace Swizzle. Mike and Steve, random question. Would you rather have a PB&J or a grilled cheese sandwich? Mike, I'm going to go first here, and maybe you might follow suit. But I think that grilled cheese wins this one hands down. And let me say real quick, I love a good PB&J. But grilled cheese is way more versatile. Like, you can have grilled cheese with a lot of different things, and it ups the game of other food items. Like a tomato. Who eats tomato soup if they don't have grilled cheese? Tomato soup by itself is ass. But if you have a grilled cheese, it's a meal. What does PB&J help? Milk? Like, I'm confused. I have to go grilled cheese on this one.
yeah, I'll go grilled cheese too. I do like PB&Js though.
Now, hey, Goober is highly underrated.
The Goober,
where they
where
just
they put
slop
them
it all
together,
together.
so I don't
That
have
stuff's
to, like,
great.
try
But
hard.
I think you have to go grilled cheese because grilled cheese can just do a lot of things.
You
for
can put PB&J on a hamburger and it's not too bad.
Look, and there used to be this food truck, a local food truck around here. They were called Little Cheesers. And they had different kinds of grilled cheeses. And it was like the best grilled cheese you ever had. Like the perfect crunch.
But at that point,
the
are they really
softest in the
grilled
middle.
cheeses? Like if you're putting like pulled pork and stuff on them, isn't that just a pulled pork sandwich with cheese?
Well, they did kind of cheat a little bit. They had one called Legalized Marinara. And it had marinara, pepperoni, like Italian seasoning, like all. And it was
So
so
it's a
good,
pizza.
dude. It was so good. But I'm going to go grilled cheese, brother. I have to. Appreciate you guys for being here. Thanks for the question. Peace was a fun way to end this one. Do us a favor, hit that like button on the way out if you haven't. Be on the lookout for new content. We're going to be working on some here in just a little bit. I'm going to try to eat in between now and then, see how that works. But yeah, keep an eye out for the content. If you didn't get to watch our video we dropped yesterday with ex-Chief wide receiver Garrick Dieter, do yourself a favor. Go watch that one. That was a great conversation and get a lot of good perspective from him being a guy that's close to the team. So I think that's a very good one. It's only like 13 minutes long. Go watch the whole thing. Hit that like button on that too. And yeah, we'll be back. If you're a member, be on the lookout for some members only stuff tomorrow and have some fun with that. Let us know what you think about that, by the way. Make sure to leave comments on that and let us know what you think about it. And if you want us to go forward with that type of series for members only content. But appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Thanks for everybody that donated and everything. Hit that like button for us if you haven't, and we'll see you next time. Go Chiefs.
Wow.